Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of Sunshine State of Mind. I'm Vanessa Montgomery, and I am today speaking to Lynda Lehmann. No, I've got it wrong again.
That's all right.
LyndaLehmann.com.
Lehmann.
Lynda Lehmann. From LyndaLehmann.com if you want to find her. And Lynda is many things. She's a modern mystic, first and foremost. She's a businesswoman, multi-talented, elite athlete, world title holder, record holder. Yes, and coach as well. Also a 15th Dan Blackbelt in Bujinkan Ninjutsu, which is ninja basically, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a ninja.
PhD, currently going through in a metaphysical.
Right, yep.
You take it away from here.
So yes, like any introduction can barely scratch the surface of someone who's been on the planet for 62 years and has had the kind of life that I've lived. And really the last 20 years of ninjutsu training has been really what it is a systematic approach to what I've done all my life. Now, I had a really difficult childhood. I was born seriously ill and not expected to live. And it actually had a very negative impact on my family. And I bore the weight of that for a long time. By the age of 8, I was self-harming. And by the age of 12, 13, 14, I was contemplating, ending it all. But I was very, very interested in the nature of reality, even from the age of 8. The bottom line was...
Intercept here. Lynda is a Scorpio, by the way, and most Scorpios worth their salt are really aware of the metaphysical world and what is hidden and lies beneath.
Yeah. So to me, at the age of 8, it seemed like I remember sitting, scraping my knuckles down walls going, this can't possibly be real, looking at the blood, feeling the pain, going, this is really strange, because to me it was all waving. The whole reality matrix was in a ripple and I couldn't quite capture it. I think when people go through some kind of trauma, they really they either crumble with it or they explore different ways of dealing with it. And for me, the metaphysical was the way to explore it. And I went through all of that, extremely paralyzed with shyness, and Vanessa won't believe that when she understands, when she knows me now. So, to be extremely paralyzed with shyness. I didn't even go to university the first time because I was too scared.
Wow.
However, when I did finish year 12, I went to work in a pottery studio and I met my first mentor. His name was Andrew. He left the planet at the age of 24. And he spent his time working on not thinking in language. Now think about that, because you can't think about that without using language.
Symbols?
So we can bring up pictures, we can bring up feelings, we can bring up sounds when we're thinking. However, we always attach a label to it.
Yep.
So I don't know how deaf people do it, because they have a different way of learning, because they don't learn the language the same way. They learn it more visually. However, in neuro-linguistic programming, the whole point of that is that we use labels to identify with our reality. So that study of NLP was a really interesting time for me. It made a lot of sense about how Andrew operated.
Oh, so Lynda, I'll just intercept here.
Yeah.
Lynda has studied NLP, timeline therapy, clinical hypnotherapy. Counseling, moon in the 7th house of the counselor. In Capricorn, the business coach.
And coaching in sport, coaching in life, coaching in business, everything. So
have you coached men very much, or has it been equal or more women? When you've coached people, has it been more of one gender or equal?
Absolutely equal. So it's I think in sports coaching I had a little bit more rapport with female athletes. Not for any reason except for the fact that I understood the feminine approach to pushing yourself. The masculine approach to pushing themselves is a little bit different. And one of the key attributes of really good female athletes is they use the feminine to push rather than the masculine to push.
And what is the difference with that? What?
The masculine is a lot more macho, and when women go into the macho realm in anything they do, they tend to lose a lot of their capacity. And we just spoke about it just off camera before, where the women have this innate ability to connect with the void or the quantum or the unknown, even if they do it completely subconsciously. I mean, you might just say it's women's intuition.
This is from your ninja training, isn't it? You told me a word for it, and it's an entire concept. I'd
say it's not from my ninja training, but the word that's from ninjutsu
encapsulates it,
and that is the female ninja is called ku no ich. So breaking that down in ku no ich. Breaking that down, that actually means in Japanese female ninja. So all of the female ninja were called ku no ich. Mm-hmm. It's not witch, it's itchy as in one. So ku means void, not is a possessive, which means it's of. Mm-hmm. Doesn't directly translate into of, but it means of. And itchy is one. So Japanese say like for joy jumping instead of jumping for joy. So if you turn the sentence around, it means one with the void.
One with the void. And
now, the symbols that make ku no ichi are the radicals of the word for woman in Japanese. The word for woman in Japanese is onna, O-N-N-A, if you want to pronounce it. But the symbols of ku no ichi actually are the radicals that make up the kanji for woman. So unbeknown to all Japanese women until you pointed out to them, they are all female ninja. In fact, every woman on the planet is a female ninja.
And what about, because you have a dojo and you train ninja as well, men, women. So what about the guys doing ninja? So does it simply mean they have to learn that way as well?
So Bujinkan Ninjutsu is an art of no fight. One of the sayings is to have everything you ever wanted live a life of no resistance and have everything you ever wanted.
So the no resistance is a real key to your brand of ninja, isn't it? Like, cool.
It's the real key to the brand of ninjutsu. Now, this doesn't negate the fact that all of the techniques, the actual techniques or all of the forms are pure survival, win, lose, life, death. However, the ninja treads the line between that. So I will often say that I straddle the line between the quantum and the manifest. And that line between the quantum and the manifest, or the unknown and the known, or the real and the not real, all those kinds of dualities. The line in the middle is the vast field of pure potentiality.
Everything.
Well, it encompasses both sides, but if you're on one side, you lack all else.
Yeah.
So, and you can take that to another point of view where you could say, when you have a belief about anything, it mitigates all other beliefs that are possible.
Yeah, right. It's like a little bit like, there's the potential, which is everything. And then if you make a choice, that's like Saturn, isn't it? You've crystallized something.
Exactly. Every decision eliminates all other possibility.
So how does the ninja continue in the void?
Well, of course, it's tricky. And that's the whole quest of human nature. I mentioned Andrew at the very beginning because in the book I'm writing, which is called it's called The Potter's Apprentice, and subtitled The 5 Stages of Artistry. It's really a parable about some girl that goes to work in a pottery studio. I mean, go figure.
Of course.
But it's really a parable about, in that book, the character Andrew is both a 24-year-old weird guy who thinks completely differently to anyone I've ever met, and my 90-year-old grandmaster, Soke, his name's Soke. Soke means grandmaster. My 90-year-old grandmaster of ninjutsu. So it's like a combination of an old sage with this wisdom that he passes on to the young girl. Now, so this wisdom is not private to Bujinkan Ninjutsu. It's not private to metaphysics. It's not private to any form. It's not private to Gnostic. It's not private to mythology. It's not private to any of those mythic or mystical, or I'm trying to think of the word, the mysterious. It's not private to any of those. It actually just is.
Yeah, they've just
built
a system around it. The same thing.
So people build different systems and beliefs around the same thing. There is actually only one thing.
Yeah.
And that is oneness.
Yeah. It makes sense.
So how does the ninja stay in the quantum?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is a matter of it. A human cannot be not in the quantum. We're not capable of it.
Mm.
However, we think we are.
Not in it.
Yes, we think we are ourselves.
Yeah.
We think we are an individual.
Yeah.
We think we have our own mind to make up. We think that we make choices. We think that we have beliefs. We think all this stuff that we think distracts us from the fact that we are nothing more than the quantum.
Like we're an illusion, like asleep.
Look, people use the word ego, and the ego is not good, bad, right, or wrong. And you hear me say that a lot, that this thing is not good, bad, right, or wrong.
Yes, and I really want to get into that. That is interesting.
So it's the ego which identifies. Now, people go, "Oh, you're egotistical." Well, no one is less egotistical than the other person, because we all are.
Because we're separate.
Exactly. Our experience of life is based in the fact that we think we are, or I am. In fact, Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am." And I don't think he was talking about thinking himself to be, and the thinking part was necessarily good. I believe he was looking at from the reverse position. It's the thinking and the I am, which takes you away from being unified with the field.
He was just explaining that idea rather than saying it's the good way.
Because I'm a thinking man, I am.
Yes, right. I didn't think of it like that.
Yes. No, I don't. I've heard the saying for a long time. It was only like about a year ago. I've gone, oh crap, that's what Descartes actually meant when he said, "I think, therefore I am."
Got it wrong. I think the I. So from here, I want to say, so you have Gemini rising, and from the little I've seen of Ninja and what I've heard you say, which is fascinating, it's very like it sounds like you're talking about the trickster archetype, and you do have Gemini rising, which of course is the trickster archetype. So, and I think you're very good at this, and you really do play with these things. And as the opposite of that, Sagittarius loves to take the moral high ground. It loves to judge and look at what's right and what's wrong. And that's definitely been my path to be less judgy. And the oneness thing really helps that's why I'm so into it. But I really wanted to hear from you how you see that working, and how in Ninja and beyond you play with that, and why that's helpful not to put the judgment on it.
Can you hear that drill?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay, good. It's quite loud on my end, but I'm just hoping that the headset helps. So.
It's not too bad.
Not too bad, yeah. It's like, I'm in an industrial complex, so there you go, you get that. We have a saying, like one of the core principles is a word called Kyo-jitsu.
Kyo-jitsu.
Now, Vanessa knows that my two dogs are called Kyoi and Jitsu. They are totally opposite to each other. So Kyo essentially means falsehood. Jitsu essentially means truth. Now, Jitsu also, like it's ninjutsu, it's the same word, means technique, it means the way, it means form, it means art, it means magic, it means a lot of things. Kyo essentially means untrue or false, but in Japanese you can quite often change kyo to myo, which is mysterious.
So the false is mysterious.
Kind of, not really. But what it is, it's like yin and yang, or in Japanese, in and yo. So it's the opposites encapsulated in one word. The Japanese take it to mean trickery. So it's a common. It's not a ninjutsu word. It's a common word, and they take it to mean trickery. So one of the core techniques that we do is I will show this while I'm doing this.
Yes.
Right?
So which is the trickery, the mystery, or the truth?
Absolutely.
Both. Okay. This is what I like about Lynda. That's it right there. Okay. That's yes. And I did do a few classes. Amazing. Like, you are such a master of this. Lynda's incredibly smooth. So much control over. What really stood out was your abilities are so amazing, but you're so humble with it. You don't need to smash everyone. You just don't need to. But boy, can you if you wanted to. Like, I had this vision of if Lynda walked through a crowd, all you would see would be people dropping behind her, and you wouldn't see anything else. You wouldn't, there would just be a way.
That is actually the kyojutsu of our martial art.
Mm.
Sorry, that little pause was just my phone ringing, which is supplying the internet there.
Okay.
So that is the kyojutsu of the martial art.
Yeah, so can you explain, go into that a bit more, the here's this, but I'm really doing this.
Because I can, I don't have to.
Yes, yeah.
A low level of operation is to use skills and technique. So using your skills and technique is for a beginner. Oh, a lot of people don't like hearing that. They like to be good at what they're doing.
That's the ego, isn't it?
Yeah. So to use those skills and techniques and the things that you're good at is actually for a beginner. Once you rise, this is in my book of the 5 stages of mastery. Once you rise to master, you don't need to use your skills and technique because it all just happens for you. Once you rise to artist, you basically, this in Japanese, this symbolizes I'm the puppeteer controlling the puppets. And it's in Japanese, it's ayatsuru. And once you become the artist, you do ayatsuru. In other words, you control things from a distance. Now, bring it back into the more known world of the spirituality. Controlling things from a distance or doing ayatsuru is the same frequency as manifestation. It's the same frequency of creating what you desire without doing anything for it. It's the same frequency. It's just a different way of wrapping it, except in the martial art, I get to practice the physical representation of that right now.
And that's what the martial art really is about, isn't it? It's
for me, it certainly is, yes.
Yeah, finding form for that, those sort of nebulous concepts, but not actually nebulous.
So let's put it another way in a martial art that people might be able to have a concept of. So when a punch comes, if you think about martial arts and martial arts movies and all that, somebody punches and the person blocks it. Yeah? That's the concept you have. Yeah. So the moment you see a punch and you block it, you have entered a fight because you believe the punch is something dangerous and you need to stop it.
So you've given it power.
Oh, absolutely. You believe the punch to be true, and because you block it, you have entered the fight.
You've made it reality.
Yeah, you made it a reality. The next stage is you go, well, I don't believe that punch is dangerous. Here I still say it's a punch. I don't believe that punch is dangerous. Therefore, I'll just move away from it.
Non-resistance.
So that's the path of least resistance, but you can get towed along with the tide. You can be a doormat in that state. However, if I don't believe the punch is a punch, I just see it's a movement in space, and I move elegantly and gracefully with that movement. And through ayatsuru, I take over that movement and guide that movement. So think about it as being a coach now. As a coach, you will say something. I will gently reframe that, not slam it in your face, but gently reframe that and guide you to a different way of thinking. That's ayatsuru.
It feels like, my picture of it is like water. It's very watery, perhaps.
Yeah.
And that movie years ago, Airbender, that person that could just sort of work with the elements, and it was about bending them, not smashing or being towed in the tide.
And anytime you smash it, I mean, so the Grandmaster says, Soke says all the time, every time you bump into people is just showing your low level of skill. So bump into people in take that out. Everything he says is so small, and it's up to you to take it out and expand what that meaning might be. So if you're bumping into people in the dojo, where are you bumping into people or butting heads with people or slamming into circumstances or, you know, trying to push things that can't be pushed in your life? Because those things are rather futile. What would happen if you moved elegantly and gracefully with whatever is happening while you're able to take control of that thing and take it to your advantage without anyone else being at disadvantage?
Yeah, right. Because there's people that are like very, like, resistance in people shows up straight away when they do this art form, doesn't it? You can't hide it.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
can't
your
hide it. You
language
can't.
that comes through.
Yeah. No, it's just human nature. So another way of saying what we do is Goshin Jitsu. So Goshin Jitsu is most readily translated as women's techniques. So the Grandmaster says that Goshin Jitsu, or women's techniques, is the highest level of our martial art. So on one level, you could say that if you're a small woman and you can do this, then without strength, power, and speed, then you have mastered ninjutsu.
Okay, is very small. He looks very small from the pictures I've seen of him, and he's 90 and he can do this perfectly well, can't he?
Yeah, as you know, my sensei is 6'7" and 140 kilos, my Australian sensei, who's lived in Japan for 20 years and has a translator at training. So I've been extremely fortunate to have a dissection and pulling apart of Soke's words, because he's not easy to understand, because from my perspective, he is one of those living sages. Andrew didn't need to be in this realm anymore. He'd reached a stage of understanding where he just disappeared. One day he was well, next day he was dead. The age of 24. Nothing wrong with him. Whereas the Grandmaster paints big-breasted women with their legs apart, with little red bits in the middle of their legs apart, and drinks sake and makes dirty jokes. He keeps hold of a worldly desire so that he can stay around and keep teaching people. And any of those old sages do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because when you're understanding, when you can pull that veil back and see beyond human nature, you actually don't need to have human nature.
It's gone. And you leave.
You just leave. And that, you know, people, one of my senseis say, you know, people are only afraid of dying because they think they're alive. Anyway, so Goshin Jitsu is the highest level of our martial art. Go is the same kanji as the word Satori, and Satori means enlightenment. Shin means nature, heart, God, mind, and the combination of all those things. And Jitsu is the way, path, or form. So really what we're doing is natural enlightenment.
Yeah, because every obstacle comes up in the practice, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you see that resistance, and you see where you go stiff, you see where the fight comes. And every time you drop out of that fight, you're actually peeling off another layer of fight or resistance. Or there's times when it gets really scary because you don't know what else to cling to, because it's all being stripped away. One of my students sat in the dojo one day and he was almost in tears, and he said, I've just come to this stage in this training where I've just realized that, you know, you can't blame anything or anyone for anything.
Yeah.
It's all on me.
Yeah. I remember hearing someone say, you know, they were talking about something that happened to them that was really awful, and the response from the other person was, you still see it as something that happened to you. When you see it as an experience, you have let it go, like you've let go of the charge in it.
Yeah, so you come to a point where it doesn't matter what's happening. This is where I am at. It doesn't matter what's happening. I just do whatever is required. And nin, part of the word nin means perseverance and survival. To survive, to prevail, to not to win, but to prevail, to survive, to keep going. So you just see this, you know, in these troubling times. I mean, I have being aware of all of the possibilities of what is really going on and not just blindly being led by
Scorpio,
media.
BS detector, yes.
Oh yeah, I'm a detective through and through.
Yeah.
And I love a good conspiracy theory, but I don't buy into them, just as I don't buy into what is being put out by the mainstream media. I don't buy into anyone's truth, actually. Because for me, it's kyojutsu. There's truth and falsehood in everything. Yes. In other words, there's no truth or falsehood.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're not true, but bad.
Whenever you think it is, it isn't. Whenever you think it isn't, it is.
So so I guess this is a great situation, you know, if you're watching this after the COVID crisis, you know, it's really bringing up a lot of things for people, isn't it? You know, and it's a great, I guess in these terms, way to practice these mindsets. And when you're starting to feel fear, or you're starting to be drawn into paranoia, or maybe something is true, it doesn't matter. You still have to practice. Like I was thinking of the whole thing in polarities, you know, in terms of astrological cycles, it's really classic what's happening now. And it does bring out a lot of fear and a lot of the shadow of people, you know, the darker stuff that we don't want to look at. And it's no surprise a lot of the people I'm interviewing are Scorpios, because Scorpios look at this stuff and they're really willing to look at it and pick it apart and get right in there and not be afraid of it. They'll talk about it to transmute it and transform it, because by ignoring it, you also won't transform it. But so what I was thinking, it's like people are really polarized, and that's what classically happened at this time. It's a Saturn-Pluto conjunction cycle. People get polarized, and even if you're on the good side, you are still locked in and polarized. And I see that so much as like what you teach about that ninja way. And if you can get yourself into a neutral position or up above it, you are free. But as long as you're here, you will actually, even the good side will feed that. They feed each other, don't they?
That's if you believe there is a good side.
Or whichever side you think you're on. Like both sides will think they're probably on the good side.
Both sides will think they're on the good side, or the right side, or the correct side. So wherever there is a side, and in our the fundamental matrix that we are in is a three-dimensional matrix. If it has a top, it has a bottom. If it has a good, it has a bad. So that is the fundamental understanding of matrix that we are in. To
equal degree, generally. Do you see it that way?
What it has to be balanced. So whatever has a top's got a bottom. There's no avoiding or escaping that fundamental three-dimensional nature of this realm that we're in. Now, I don't believe the realm's real. I believe the realm is a frequency and vibration that something that is not me, not the ego identifiable me, but the true, and I'm not going to say spirit, because I don't necessarily believe in, like, the spiritual stuff is not my thing. The metaphysical is my thing, not really the spiritual. They cross over completely. So the metaphysical is really, it's really the nature of everything that is not manifest. So, you know, like the easy thing is, you know, what's not the chair? Well, everything else. What's not the chair and not everything else. And that brain fart that we have when we try and contemplate that is the realm that I love being.
There was a little sound that just backed up.
It's a drill going into the wall. And yeah, it's quite interesting, because just when I said brain fart, it started.
Yeah, so what is not, what is, or is it already, but we just don't see it because we don't believe it.
Belief is an interesting thing, because without the belief of our dimension, we couldn't exist.
Yeah, it's the ego as well.
Well, if you didn't believe the ground is not solid, it's not physically solid, but if you didn't believe the ground was solid, you would fall through it. But the moment you can believe it's not solid, you have transcended the constructs of this dimension, and you'll leave.
And is that how a lot of the martial arts work? You know, how people smash through things? Do they basically just kind of take their belief away and just kind of create the reality in a different way?
You're talking like board breaking?
Yeah, or things like that. Or is that just something else? I don't know. I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, I had on a Facebook feed today, there was a question. I don't really know the person very well. They're local, and we're going to get together when we're allowed to. But just because one of our mutual friends think that we would be really interesting, like talking, have a good conversation. Anyway, she's the question that was asked on her feed was, what is one really good insight from your sports career that will make a difference to people?
Yep.
So my response to that was basically, it's not about how hard, because all the other responses were fighters and they were talking about just going for it really hard, smash it through, all that sort of stuff. So my response was not actually about how hard you do things, it's about how well you do them. When you get onto the start line, and I've been there a few times, of the Olympic final, there is not one person on that start line with you has not done the hard training. Has not physically done everything.
Yep.
What makes the difference is the execution of that training in that moment. So it's about, and we don't have to talk about sport, we can talk about any kind of practice, including the practice of being a good human being. It's about making sure that every moment is a perfect practice.
Yep.
Making sure that you never let yourself off the hook with your technique. Now, technique in our terms, it's taijutsu, which is body technique, but technique is anything you do. So in Zen, and there's a lot of close relationships with my thinking in Zen Buddhism, in Zen, they'll say chop wood, carry water.
Yep.
But in that, you do that the most gracefully, the most beautifully, the most perfectly, the most mindfully that you possibly can in that moment. Yep. If it's not as good as somebody else, that doesn't matter, because there's no good, bad, right, or wrong. So it's just you chopping wood, carrying water. So not letting yourself off the hook with any kind of technique or practice or anything you're doing, to do that as well as you can in this moment. You can't do it better than you're able to do it right now. One of the great lessons I learned in sport is the only thing I can do is this stroke.
Yeah. So is that like, just from the little I know, if you're swimming, you give everything to your stroke, because if you're worried about anything else, you're taking energy and focus away from that stroke. That is the only thing that can compete with the other people that are amazing also.
Yeah. So like the second half of my sports career, when I changed from swimming to kayak paddling, was all about, I discovered the beauty in movement. I had a Feldenkrais teacher at the time who just sparked something in me through the movement and the connection with the body and the cells and the muscle fibers. And that sparked in my whole way of thinking, because like at the time I was a swim coach and I would just do amazing things with my swimmers because of the feminine power. At the time I was only one of two. I was the first, but I was only one of two female swim coaches in Australia with a level 2 accreditation. I was told by men on the pool deck, it's all right, love. Parents aren't allowed down here. It's all right, love. She'll be right on the night. I was spoken to in those kind of terms in swim coaching realm, because it was so unusual for a woman. But the power of the feminine and the power of the way I was thinking to come through with my athletes was actually pretty powerful. They would just respond so well, and I would push them really hard. They would be training. You can't get anywhere in sport unless you are prepared and committed to train harder than anyone else. That's a given. But how you do it, how elegantly you do it, how beautifully you do it is paramount. When I was kayak paddling, the whole focus of my training was the beauty of every stroke. It was a beautiful thing.
So it sounds extremely mindful.
Yeah. And that's carried through to, at times I catch myself rushing and I go, what's the point? That's not experience. There's nothing that has to be done. The experience is the beauty and the quality of this moment. Yeah.
And what you're doing.
The gentleness of it, the gracefulness of it, the fluidity of it, and the ability to control it.
I was just thinking as well on what you were talking about with the, um, you know, not giving power to someone else's punch, like not coming in like that with, say, athletics or anything else. I guess if you're worried about, say, your competition, you know, you just created competition and it probably it's not there. Like, it's not even a concept you should be thinking about. Just think about what you're doing, like your stroke, that's it.
So different sports have different kind of, I guess, trajectories behind them. Like you have a team sport like football, the mentality or the vibration or the frequency behind two teams on a battlefield fighting together is a substitute for the masculine drive to dominate. Whereas when you go into individual sports, performance arts and individual sports are very closely related to me because they're all a performance art. You get you know, when you can lift athletes out of the win-lose or the ego-based, you know, if I don't win, I'm nothing. If you can get an athlete out of that, they will perform extremely well and always be satisfied with their performance.
Yes, very interesting.
So as one example, I had a young boy, he barely made the state championships. I coached him for six weeks and he won the state championship and he barely qualified for it. Then he won it and he broke the state record.
Wow.
And it was very surprising. Just focusing on his technique. That's all it was. Just focusing on his technique and tidying up little bits. He was already good. He just wasn't maximizing his capacity.
Yeah.
So then we went to the national championships and he won and he smashed the former national record for his age group by miles. So the next year we come back and he'd won the state championship. He had a fairly decent competitor in another boy in the state, but he beat him easily. Anyway, we got to the national championships and he beat all the other kids out of the car so I could sit next to me in the car as we drove to the pool for the final. And I said, "Oh, is everything all right?" And he says, "I'm really nervous. You know, what if I don't win?" I'm like, "Where's this coming from?" He said, "Oh, well, that other boy could beat me." I said, "Yeah, he's capable. He's a good swimmer."
Yeah.
But where's this coming from? Well, if I don't win, I'm going to let a lot of people down. They're all expecting me to win. So I said, so here's the thing. If you do your very best race and that other boy beats you, you need to jump over the lane ropes, give him a big hug and say, "Well done."
Yeah.
Because if he can beat you at your best, he's done a bloody awesome job. Wouldn't you agree? And he's like, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome." So you've only got to do your job. And if somebody can beat you, you need to congratulate them because they've done something amazing. You know, they've done a beautiful, and anyway, he won by like half a length of the pool.
Anyway, I think this is really interesting and something to take on board for women particularly and you know, it's in sport, it's in everything, it's in business. And I do think it's interesting that you do the business coaching with the metaphysical side, with the mindset, because it's all the same thing. And I think it would give it a lot more breadth and strength. And I relate to it a lot because I think of myself, I'm not the best astrologer, but I don't need to be. You know, I have a higher reason for what I'm doing and it's in service. And
what's the measure of the best?
I guess it's a technical thing. Like technically someone could know, like I keep my astrology quite simple. Like there's techniques on techniques on techniques. And I've learned a lot, but I choose to keep it quite focused so I have enough room to go through and use my intuition and allow things to happen. Like even in readings now, I don't prepare. I just make the chart. I have a quick look. That's it. Because I find if I overthink it, I'm shutting off the intuition. So I've got both brains working and I trust myself and the universe and my client that the thing is going to come. So
absolutely. So our Grand Master says, and this is a really good point to take away from, you know, if there's one thing, it's this thing. Knowledge and skill is only 10% of what's going on. So you can be the most knowledgeable, the most skillful, the most educated, the so-called best,
Mm.
but somebody who has control of the 90%, which is the metaphysical, will always not win, but prevail.
Yep. Yeah. I just think it's a bigger wave to be on. And it's
Absolutely.
like
And that is, it's the strength of the feminine.
Yep. Yeah. The trust and the belief in the larger part, you know, just get your little 5% down with your technique and your system. If you're using a system, you don't really need the system, I don't think, but if it's helping you as a little scaffold. Yeah.
Five stages of artistry is you need to be an apprentice first when you're starting to learn something. So you need to study.
Yeah.
Then you become a tradesperson. So you deliver the trade. Then you become a master and you teach the trade, or you write a book about it, or you do those kinds of expressions which other people can pick up and learn from.
Yeah.
Then after that, if you continue, you'll become an artist. And an artist is someone who can manipulate all versions of what everyone else has learned and create from it. The artist is the creator. And once you're an artist, the most important thing to do is to transcend all of that and start again. In other words, become an apprentice again.
Oh, wow. Eat humble pie.
So there is my 5 stages of artistry. Main title is The Potter's Apprentice.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to read it once it's done. But I think this is really important for women with like perfection, procrastination, men as well, like that. Just back to that idea of, it's in that book Big Magic as well, about being a creative person. The writer, who is it that wrote Eat, Pray, Love? I can't remember her name.
Yes, whoever it was, yeah. I can't either.
Yeah, so
I remember the movie.
she says the same thing in her own way, and I totally agree, and I remind myself of this a lot. So she just says, if you think it's you, like, just say she had a really big hit, and now if she let that stand in her way ego-wise, like, I'm responsible for this artwork, I'm responsible for this business or this creation or this book, it's going to look bad if I don't make it right. Like, you're going to start fearing and blocking the flow. But if you push that ego part aside and just allow the muse and I think believe and have faith. You have to back yourself with belief and faith, or it just won't happen. But you have to know you have the resources and give it your best. But if you don't put that over there for that period, you're crushed by the ego, because the ego will do anything to protect itself.
So our Grand Master tells the story along these lines. It's a story about a fighting cock. So he actually paints a lot of cocks.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look like a rooster, sometimes they look like the other cock.
Wants to know what his sun sign is.
And it's like, his birthday is the 2nd of December. I don't know what year or where.
Sagittarius. Oh, well,
yeah,
there you go. Cheeky.
Yeah. So Dai Kokachan is a character, and he talks about his training with his master in metaphor. So the story goes, there was this cockfighter, and he had the trainer, and the trainer had this really good cock, and he took the cock away and trained the cock, and he brought him back to the owner, and the owner said, "No, not ready yet." So he took him away and trained him even harder for another 10 years and brought him out. Of course, the cock doesn't live that long, but brought him back, and the master says, "No, not ready yet." Took him away another 10 years and trained him really hard, and then brought him back. And the master says, "Yeah, ready." So the cock goes into the cockfighting ring, and all the other cocks run away in tears.
Why?
Because the bottom line is that the way we work, and I just said that the 90% is more than the 10%, but if you're coming off without the training, without the discipline, without the hard work, without the real fundamentals, the form, the technique behind you, you'll just be floating free in space and you'll get pushed everywhere. So this cock trained so hard that the other cocks just knew he was untouchable, and they ran away in tears.
Fair enough. Smart.
Right. So within that silly little story is the concept that, you know, like we all go, "I just trust our intuition," but what's that based on? Know yourself well enough. Have you put yourself, I talk about in some of my stuff, the 4 endurances. And the first one is physical endurance. right? And that is putting your body through the mill. Now, as a former elite athlete, like that physical endurance makes sense to me, because honing your body or protecting your body or doing your yoga, getting your yoga form really good, doing your martial art and getting that form perfect.
Yeah.
Paying attention to how your body is moving in space. That's the first endurance. Second endurance is mental endurance. In other words, study.
Yeah.
Understand what it is you're doing. Third endurance is emotional endurance. And of course, that means emotional intelligence. And that is where all the hits come and you just ride the wave nice and smooth. Not that you don't suppress emotions at all. And this is where this conversation come up was about anger. Like, there's no such thing to me as anger. It's not about suppression. Anger is just a lack of love.
So
and you can look at Louise Hayes.
What that conversation was. I posted something on my Facebook, a little thing about anger and fear, and there were a couple of placements happening in the cosmos that, you know, it was Mars, Saturn and Pluto all together in Capricorn, which is, you know, sometimes in a person's birth chart can mean abuse. They've been abused, especially if it's in the fourth house of home. They've been beaten and God knows what else. Not always, but it's something I would ask a client about if I saw it. So we're all sort of in lockdown at the moment, and this is in the sky. And if there's people that are already in a domestic abuse situation, it's probably going to be really heightened. And so I just wanted to speak of that, and I used an image that was empowering as well. I don't know if you noticed that, but and I wondered, I posted it, I shared it to Lynda's group because I love your take on things, and I just think everything's just such a mindset thing, and also a no mind as well. Yeah. So from there, please continue.
So it was based around anger, and Vanessa had said, "Oh, you'll have a lot to say about this," and I don't have anything to say about it. Anger doesn't exist.
But I said that's like to say. So
that's a lot to say, yeah. So of course you see people out there abusing. You're talking about domestic violence situations, and they're all really horrible and terrible. However, no one is in any situation except by choice, and I don't mean to belittle where people feel trapped, where they have no choices. I don't mean to do that at all, because the situation is terrible, it's dangerous, and people in those situations, both men and women, men get domestically abused as well, so, but not to the extent that women do, of course. It's a little bit skewed, but let's just say abuse.
In gay relationships with women, it's 33%, and men is only just under, so something to keep in mind. Yeah.
So it happens. Humans can be particularly nasty because most humans are unenlightened. So whatever, at some level, the choice has been made to live that life. Now, I don't care what your take is on spirituality, but there is a point or a purpose, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what is beyond my experience right now. I have had past life regressions. I do know some of the things that may or may not, or it might have been a metaphor my brain threw up for me to understand something.
Yep.
But don't discount past life experiences being a metaphor to understand. So I don't actually know. No one actually knows. No one actually knows that there's aliens out there who are channeling things through you. It might be your experience of things, but I don't even know if I'm alive. Yeah.
Or
there's no way to prove that.
Or you have a experience of something that you're translating into your life.
Absolutely.
In this way.
That's right. Exactly.
So anger and fear. So there's no anger and fear.
No, why would there be?
What about, so are you saying like it's because you said there's only love and joy, and everything else is like what did you say on that post? I should have written it down.
It's a lack of those things.
A lack
of understanding.
Yeah.
Lack of understanding. Right? So no one can switch off. An angry person who's stuck in anger is not just going to switch it off like that because I say it's a lack of understanding. That's, to think that is simplistic.
Well, they still wouldn't understand just because you said it.
No, of course not. Of course not. So it's not that simplistic. Every single person here is experiencing exactly what we signed up for. So whether I kind of get into Akashic records a little bit, and like that the concept where we sign up for this experience.
Mm.
Whether it's to learn stuff, I'm not quite convinced of that. I actually believe I'm more, see, I choose my beliefs so that I have the experience I want to have. So the belief I've chosen is that I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, and I'll intercept here with a bit of your birth chart astrology. Your sun is in the 5th house of having fun. So you probably are here to have fun. That's where you shine, is to play. And you are really playful. And that's that trickster thing. You really play with that. It's really interesting. You've got a few other planets.
Unfortunately, I have a wicked sense of humor, and I quite often, and I'm completely deaf. So, and I think it's more of an autistic kind of deafness. It is a physical deafness, but I don't understand even when I hear it. So, and that is just probably me not wanting to understand it.
Maybe.
Like, why would I want to hear that shit?
Also, I just looked at your chart. You have Jupiter and Venus in the house of fun, the fun house, the 5th of, and of course, Lynda is a ceramicist. So it's like hobbies. It's your creative self-expression. This is a really creative person here who needs to have fun. And yeah, you've got the 2 benefics, like the awesome help. Well, I'm judging them, but the fun planets, Jupiter and Venus, in there with your sun. What an awesome place to hang out. So yeah, you can have fun.
Yeah.
As well as if you coach women in business, because your moon's in Capricorn in the 1-to-1 house. Mm.
You know me better than I do.
Not really, but it's like little indicators. And I always think it's interesting to know someone's astrology and then hear them speak words like, I believe I'm here to have fun.
Yeah, yeah. So if I choose to believe I'm here to have fun, part of fun is play.
Yep.
So like we have situations that happen around us that is life's experience. Like we've got this so-called COVID-19 lockdown, shutdown. Yep. I'm moving house. It's not really affected me at present. But my business is affected because I normally have, people in my studio. I'm not allowed to have them at present. So, like, there's a lot of money disappearing right now that would normally be there, but I can't feel anything negative about it. Like I've got like a few $100s to get me through until the government give me some money, but I don't feel anything. I don't feel stress. I don't feel any negativity. What I am focusing on, what I do feel is a massive opportunity to reinvent myself right now.
Yeah, that's right.
To do more with my creativity, do more with my coaching, because the way I think, a lot more people need to have look, it takes a lifetime to think the way I think, but a lot more people would benefit from being a lot more playful in life, or having a lot more fun, reinventing their business so it's not stressful for them, but it's a fun thing. So they're generating, like, I'm going to be making so much money soon because of all the things I'm putting in place. Like, just soon as the move's done next week, I will be 100% getting all of my courses ready to be posted on Zoom.
Yeah.
And what a great way of doing it, because when I record the Zooms, I've just created an online course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the things I'm doing in that, I'm actually, look, it's really weird. I have so many mysterious, mystical things going on, and so many real world physical skills. Yeah. I dismiss my skills all the time. And that's something that Vanessa knows about me. I dismiss that and minimize that. And
that's for a lot of women, I think. That's for a lot of women. And I just bring in here yet another Scorpio friend, an Italian Scorpio friend says something wise repeatedly to her female friends. She's just like, use what you have, your resources. Like in astrology, that's the 2nd house of resources. Use what you have. You have so much already. Doesn't mean you can't study and expand your skills, but never underestimate the resources you already have. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, just in conversations with people, as it turns out in the last few days, I'm putting together a course, which I'm going to sell for an amazingly ridiculous $27. And that course is how to own your own digital assets and put your stuff online in courses, and you own them. So you've and cheaply. Yeah. So for $500 a year, you can have everything you need, instead of it's up to about $8,000 a year for Kajabi, and about $4,000 a year for Teachable. A lot of platforms are very expensive. So I'm just finishing that course off, and it will be about, it's actually, the course is just about how to build that out on WordPress and own everything and own your digital access inside of that. But the bigger part, the upsell of that was coaching to take whatever it is you're doing in business now and how can you do that? We don't know if lockdown's going to last for 12 months. They say 12 to 18 months of affected in our business. They're saying maybe 2 to 3 weeks before we're allowed to come out a little bit. But if those numbers, whether they're true or not, go up, we'll be back in lockdowns. So people with a lot of businesses that can't operate the same way now, I want to help them reinvent themselves and put themselves online. And there's so much opportunity for that right now. So that's the upsell of my $27, like it's a really big course, step by step, not techie, because I'm not a tech person. I'm self-taught. That means I understand the easy way of doing it, not the right way of doing it.
Right. Well, I think that would be really interesting to focus on that. If, you know, there's a lot of people doing business training and stuff like that, but I think what you're coming at it with is really fascinating because you know how to apply everything you've learned into that, and it's a way, I think, I mean, even for me with the success I've had with my writing and all of that, I swear it came from mindset shifts. It really did. And as soon as I get that shift, I get a result immediately. And I have to credit another Scorpio friend for that, because she really dives in. She's got everything in Scorpio. Pluto's right on there as well. And she's just really invested a lot of time into investigating the metaphysical world and how the mind works with reality with that stuff. And she'll tell me, and I'll observe for a few years, and then I'll try it out and I'll get a shift. It's so, that's why I think without that, you can do as much technical stuff as you want. You can put enough money, like a lot of money behind something, but if you don't get that mental shift, you're just going to self-sabotage. You're going to get the results that you believe you'll get, you know, all of that kind of thing, as well as needing the technicals. If that's the both sides, isn't it?
There's a lot of people right now that believe that their business is finished, but in fact, their business could just be starting.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's really
and that's, I have the skills to lead people through that and put them online and get all that stuff sorted out and teach them how to do it so it's not scary. A lot of people are so scared of the online stuff. It seems like a technical world, but if it's explained step by step by somebody who, I'm not technical, I'm self-taught, therefore I know the easy way. And it's really interesting because quite often if you've been educated in something, you know the right way, but it's not necessarily the easy way. And that's a really important thing. My dog's going ballistic out there trying to come inside. Between the drill in the wall and the dog outside, we've got lots of background noise.
Well, I'll wrap it up in a sec, but just so people know, so your website?
Lynda with a Y, Lynda dash Lehmann, LEHMANN.com.
Okay, cool. And everything's on there, on Facebook as well?
Yeah, just I use my personal profile mostly. So just Lynda Lehmann. I've got plenty of room for more friends. I'm only on 2,500. So 2,500 of your followers can come and follow me. There's Lynda Lehmann Official, which is my Facebook page for all the business stuff I'm doing. And my group is Ancient Wisdom for Entrepreneurs. And that is Ancient Wisdom for Entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the group. I share a lot of like a few little secret tactics and some free trainings and that sort of stuff. But if anyone, my phone.
Uh-oh, you've frozen. You've frozen. I think it's a sign. Okay, well, Lynda dash Lynda dash Lehmann LEHMANN.com. Ancient Wisdom for Entrepreneurs is Lynda's Facebook group. So very interesting. Take a look and see what's happening in there. Listen to what she has to say. I think it's she's definitely caught my mind with things she says frequently. And like I said, any growth I've had is from people that are willing to say stuff that other people aren't willing to say. And those people are often Scorpios in my experience. So thank you so much for listening. I've got another episode coming up soon with Lynda Walker, an artist, talking about the artist mindset and identity, as well as our identities are changing with this lockdown experience. And if we're post-lockdown soon, I hope, that will also be helpful. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you next time for another Sunshine State of Mind. Oops. And end recording. There you go.